Welcome to our channel, where we share real-life stories full of drama, suspense, and horror. Every story on this channel has been lived by real people and will take you to mysterious and thrilling worlds. Join us to explore the dark side of life and experience events that will leave you amazed and on edge. In this world, there is good and there is evil, and in man together, good prevails over evil. Firstly, evil overpowers him and blinds his eyes until there is nothing left in him, even if he sees an ounce of good, and all evil is like a drop of it. And this is exactly the type that we can call the devil of mankind, and he who walked until he entered the devil of the Djinn and saw it was God. Aoun, who is on his way. Today we told the story of a woman whose husband took advantage of her in a way that you cannot take away from your mind. The Djinn sold it and went there. We did not want to start the story. As Samira says, I was very young, living with my father and my brothers. As she says, we live in one village. It is small, as is this village. This village is close to one. The city is very large in Egypt. Our lives in that village were simple. Our lives were simpler than we have. It did not concern us, thank God, in any case. My father Diala was a simple farmer who planted a little something. The day of greenery, and every once in a while the day of agriculture, and a little of the trees, they were living, but all along we were the rug of our lives, which had contentment and patience. Life was simple and beautiful. My brothers and father and I were perfect. They cooperated. We were healthy. They cooperated in everything, and our lives were fine and well, and I, Samira, had a very young head. The days have grown a little, and one day something came to us. People I didn't know. Why did my father bring them into the house? He welcomed them, but my mother, even she was poor, turned to Dakshi for food, which she could afford to eat, to welcome them. And to be honest, I did not get it. I did not know what they were doing. Yes, sir, these people were there during the day, laughing, active, and happy. The evening arrived, and the people left the house with their father and walked away. They were back in their condition. My father said to my daughter Samira, "Do you know these people?" Why did he come when I had the intention of answering him? I told him no, so we would know them. Why did the father come? He started laughing and told me he came before you and wanted you to take over their child's wife, as Samira says. At this moment, this is exactly the case with one thing. Something accompanied her. His clapping with effort to the level of her ears, he felt that sound in them. Hitting with effort is completely smooth, except for the force of shock. To be honest, I was feeling this news when I was still very young. It was now. Come on, I had something. I was 14 years old. The father said, "Look, my daughter, these people who came to us saw him from the family, and this one who wanted you to marry, you saw him as your cousin. May God bless you, Mizian." To be honest, I'm fine. If there were a lot of girls, I didn't have time to say no, and I couldn't say no. To my father, I told him, "Safi, you are the one who knows me. I wanted her to be who she is, and it is only on your mind," Samira says. We tell her, this is the moment, and I don't carry my head. The boy who came with them was very big, and it was difficult for us to come to an understanding. In short, I was not comfortable with this marriage. This is okay, but I didn't have anything. I manage my father, Diala, and I agree with them, and I have nothing to say in front of my father. And in fact, Hashi was the one who agreed to this marriage. Almost after his bad luck, these people came back to us, and my father agreed with them on something like that. Marriage, dowry, wedding, and everything. In fact, they agreed on the wedding that would turn my whole life around and return it to hell in the middle of the world. I always hated that she would come back in time, and we would not let my father agree to this marriage until now. Dakshi, who saw and lived, cannot live even one thing. Yes, the important thing is that the day of the wedding has come, and the wedding has started, but they have shown it to me. The family and they had a small party and were happy with us. After the wedding, Safi asked for direct with them, and we walked to their house. Their house, which was far away, was in one roundabout. Another was far away from our roundabout. These people were living alone in one of the houses. The house was very large, and they all gathered together in it, as Samira says. This house was this. There is my man, his parents, and his brothers, all of them together. As for Samira and her man, whom she named Mahmud, they had a house in the middle of this house, Samira says. At first, my mother walked with me, and she stayed with me, the first fat rooster. Let's talk. Let's talk a little about the new life and marriage and this whole world, especially since I had left our home and was still very young. My poor mother had never turned around. Your fat hand is work at home, and anything that can cross your mind is there. A relationship with Dakshi in the house and the ruin of it. She was poor. She was like Hachibash's mother when she came back to the house and left me and congratulated on her. In this fat place, they flew away for days in the garden during the day. I really didn't get pregnant. I couldn't imagine that my mother would actually walk away and leave me alone with these people. He was my brother, and they were my brother. My relative, but I was a stranger. I didn't tell you. You have time. I was 14 years old. Can you imagine a 14-year-old girl who is married and has the responsibility of her husband's marriage, the home's marriage, and a complete family? Frankly, it was a difficult and disappointing feeling. Oh, my mother, even she is poor, hugged me and kept crying, saying, "This is the last time you will see me." Yes, the time has come. Even I am with someone other than God, but this is the way of life. We have nothing now. Let's see when my mother walked away. This is exactly the moment when my mother walked away. I felt that the world had stayed the same. Here, where will the new routine begin? Fadak's health is the first days. So come on, my mother walked away. I suffered a lot. I had to move with the new life to the home and the way they would serve each other in the middle of their home, but little by little, I started to talk about the normal situation of any person who wants a little something. Time adapts to anything new. This is exactly what happened to me. Yes, the important thing is that the days have passed, and laughed, and I were one of those loyal to the house. Even to be honest, they treated me well, but Hashi did not take too long. Time seemed to be running out, and exactly in the second month of my stay with them, I started to feel that something had changed. Then we will find out that I was pregnant with my poor daughter, and where will everything change here? I wish I didn't know anything anymore. Something I called rest, and I wish I didn't put my head on the pillow to get a little sleepy. I would have nightmares. It's okay. I'm in the state of Dakshi Dayal. I don't see it. Anyone followed me. And I dreamed, and I didn't dream of madness. I was the dreamer that I was dreaming. I was living moment by moment, and I was like a mind. In everything and in all the details, I was not as sleepy as I was feeling uncomfortable with people. Give me these people a chance to get me out of my bed, and I will be in your condition. I will be half awake and half a dream, and it will be spent at the same time, until in the morning I find my head sleepy on my bed. It is normal. The important thing is that we continue to you about the dream that I told you is half a dream and half a dream. These are the people who are like this. Haze me so that they can take me to one of the plasters. This plaster was the one in the house that was yours. The house we used to live in. But the problem with this house is that I've never entered it during the day to wake up, and it was always blocked and not even anyone would enter it. But in the dream, when they entered me into that house, someone kept the hole, and one of the dugouts began to read, and one of the wonders that were not secreted began to read. Unless he starts to get up and read, or he doesn't know how to do it, I'm starting to feel like something is hitting me in the face and he's running away. In my body, I feel a headache, and I feel a headache in my body. I swear to God that it is impossible. There will be a dream and a headache in the morning, so I wake up. My head is sleepy in my stomach, but the effects of that beating are in my body. I have had one headache for a long, long time. In this torment, this every night. The same thing keeps coming back. I hated my head. I hated the dark night, and I even hated being so sleepy. I didn't hate to always be awake and not sleepy. My life has changed since the beautiful little girl in the middle of her parents and siblings who used to put her head on the pillow is sleepy. A woman who is 14 years old and pregnant is no longer able to sleep comfortably. I started trying to explain this to my man and his family. May God understand me, but his reaction. I was shocked by the honesty, that if they all agreed, they would have told me. Just now I've been reading a little bit of the Quran. I've become sleepy. You're such a fool, like a sore. The only important thing is that neither my man nor his family do anything to me. On the contrary, they ignore me to the point of ignoring me. It's made me feel sick. The days are so many, and the torment is so many, even every night, even for the one day when my father comes to me. Diala wants to see me here. I took advantage of the opportunity and returned everything to him and told him to see it. We would tell them that I am sick and suffering, and Kitsuna has not stayed in it for a long time. He said to them, "Look at Gandhi Samira, some days, so that her mother will see her and her brothers, and that she should change the atmosphere a little bit." He told them this way, so that they do not leave him and let me walk with him, until he told them to leave her alone. When we heal her, they often let me do something to lend her or something else. So we don't go with my father. Poor father. He found this graduation and brought me with him. Yes, when I arrived home, I went back to my mother and my brothers. I returned everything to them from beginning to end. Poor Diala's mother told me that this can't be normal. We were like dreams, and they were all disappointing dreams. But it's okay every day. It's okay. Every day at this level, for months, you are like dreaming these dreams themes. These are the disappointed ones. Here, where did my father decide to give me to someone? Mr. Kidir, Al-Rakia and my kid. This is the Balanat. This is one of the masters. He said to me, yes, he will come back to me. He will return to me. He will have a good time. Yes, this is it. So we left. Early in the morning, it was still dark. We took the road, me and my father Diala, and walked towards this gentleman. We arrived at his place. Where can he serve? We found the plague full of servants of God who regret our predecessors and are sad, Bo. The shift is enough for a shift. Yes, the important thing is that we sat down and had a shift with the people and kept having a shift until we reached the shift. We stayed and had a shift and waited for something like 3 or 4 days of fasting. It was back. Come on, we have the shift so we can meet with the master. The master shouted at us, and we entered one of their dark houses, and he lit nothing but candles in it. He told us. He came, and we sat together, and he started to attend with his father and father. He seemed to come back to me like the same thing that this gentleman had fallen upon. This gentleman was neither a jurist nor a sophisticated person. This gentleman was a charlatan and a magician. The important thing was that he had everything in him. He was a bag of madness. How he did not want to. The important thing is that the master cut off his hand. May God have mercy on him. He ran to the benefit of Satan and his servants. He did not want it. The important thing is that I asked my exasperated father what had happened to me, this Antichrist, something like incense, and something that burns meat in the brazier, and he kindled good health in them and closed his eyes. And he started to stare at the same time as he stared with one thing. One of them remained in this state and muttered something for a matter of minutes or 3, and he did not stare alone. A rooster asked for a breath. He opened his eyes and saw it. And here we were shocked. He said, "Look, my daughter, what's wrong with you?" and started to get back to me. Some details are exactly what I was seeing in the nipple, and the big shock was that he told me, "You, my daughter, are not dreaming." He said to Moot, "Everything you saw was true. Your man and his family had treasure in the house, and they were going to take it out as a sacrifice. And you, my daughter, were trying to make a crazy sacrifice out of you in order to take out that treasure. They were going to give you an anesthetic so that you wouldn't be 100% conscious. He came back after they brought you into the house that was blocked. During the day here, where is the honesty? The world really turned around for me, and I started to think about the first days. Come on. When the heat came, I was as if I had woken up from drowsiness and found the clover in my hand. I asked my leg, "Where did this blood come from, and that clover?" He said to me in this state, "In the name of God be upon you." He said to me, "Why didn't you say yesterday that you hit your hands with a razor?" And to be honest, at that time I did not understand, and I was left with no solution to it in my mouth. Yes. The important thing is that I and my father, Diala, are poor. The moment of this world remained before our eyes. The Antichrist spoke and said, "Lena, I don't know how these smart people are. How can you marry a girl and try to get her? This is the real deal. This is the whole thing. Hachi Kamel is not going to get the treasure. Thank God, we discovered the problem before it was too late. As Samira says, Diala's father and I returned home, shocked all the way, and we were still silent. We arrived at the house. We promised everything to his mother here. Where will the ground fall and start crying? She was hysterical in the first place. Her brother, who is my uncle and my father at the same time, was the one who did this thing. Here we discovered that it is difficult for a person to trust in him. He does not want to be greedy. He can do things with his eyes closed and manage things that he cannot imagine as a person. The important thing is that I stayed in our house and did not return. They have a problem here. Where can we start another drama? This is too long for divorce. They don't want to make it easy with me and let me get divorced normally. They left me going up and down, and we were getting beaten up for years. And I was going up and down in the courts. So come on, I can get a divorce. Praise be to God, I broke up and got divorced, and my daughter is starting to grow up. But the traces of Dakshi, who I lived with, and Dakshi, who happened to me, remain in me. Daba still makes me feel hysterical, and sometimes I start to sleep at night. In order to be drowsy, we use something other than medicine. Frankly, these are children. It is forbidden that they turned my life around for me, and I am still living in torment. No good sleep, no good food, no good health, and even a thing that is not that, but praise be to God in any case, and God takes the right from what was the cause of my difficult regret. And God keeps us and you away from the evil of creation. This was in the story today. If you like it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if anyone has one. Which story do I suggest? Is it Instagram Diala or Facebook page? We will see you in the next story.